Beyond the buzzer, inside the game, this is SportsIQ with Larry Smith.
Hey, welcome to the show. Basketball is here. We've got a lot coming up here on the Sports IQ. Larry Smith, glad to have you with us here. Hey, a couple of great guests here in just a couple of minutes. We're going to talk to Ryan Blackwell. He's the assistant coach at Siena. The Saints, of course, taking on Duke tomorrow in round one of the NCAA tournament. They're down in the Greenville, South Carolina, a part of the East region. So we'll talk with him. Remember, he played for Syracuse, and of course, head coach Jerry McNamara also played for Syracuse as part of that championship-winning team back in 2003 with Carmelo Anthony and those guys when they beat Kansas in New Orleans. So we'll talk with Coach Blackwell about how you get ready for, as a 16th seed, to take on not only the number one seed, but the number one overall seed in the Duke Blue Devils, and how they are also taking their own experiences and transferring that into on the court as well. Also, Jasmyn Wimbush from CBS Sports talking a little NBA. Hard to believe now, just about a month left in the season. We're getting down toward the end, and so producer Tony chatting with her about something surprising we noticed about the standings this year in the NBA. That is coming up. We've got another All-America list on the way. We'll talk about some first-year coaches. Curt Cignetti is in the news. We'll talk about that. Lots happening right now. Also, great story in the sporting news. Top 10 paid college basketball guys. That's on the way. A couple of names may surprise you. Let's get to some headlines here to start on this Wednesday. Big news, the WNBA and the Women's National Basketball Players Association have agreed to terms on a new collective bargaining agreement. Took them an extra week, but they got this done, according to Front Office Sports. The agreement was reached in the early morning hours, and it ends a bitter labor fight that lasted more than a year and ensures the 2026 season will take place on time. Now, details of the new CBA were not fully known Wednesday morning, but Supermax salaries will be at least $1 million, according to the report. The 2026 WNBA regular season, the 30th in league history, is set to take off on May 8th. Well, by the way, if the first two games are any indication of what the next 3 weeks are going to be, everyone better make sure that your heart meds are up to date. Dayton playing host to the first four in the nightcap last night. Not only did we get Dick Vitale working his first ever NCAA tournament game, but we got our first game-winning shot. Tremont Mark hit a fadeaway jumper from just inside the three-point line with 1.1 seconds left. Texas surviving a late rally to beat NC State 68-66. Tremont Mark scored 17 points to lead the Longhorns. They're now 19-14 this season. And they had lost 5 of their last 6 entering the NCAA tournament. That left some pundits questioning if they should have gotten a bid, but they're in. Texas moving into the bracket as the number 11 seed in the West region, and the Longhorns will face 6th seed BYU Thursday night in Portland, Oregon. In the opening game, Howard and UMBC did battle to see who gets to face Michigan. What a consolation prize, White Gray, or what a prize you're waiting for. Bryce Harris had 19 points and 14 rebounds and sank a turnaround jumper with 13 seconds remaining. That sent Howard to its first ever NCAA tournament victory in program history, 86-83 over UMBC. The Bison came in 0-4 in NCAA tournament games before last night, but they got it done. What a great job there by Kenny Blakeney, the head coach, in his third trip for the Bison in the NCAA to the big tournament. Tonight's action, we'll see another pair of 16 seeds trying to get into the field of 64. Lehigh takes on Prairie View A&M. Lehigh 1-5 all-time in the Big Dance, having beaten Duke as a 15 seed back in 2012. Prairie View 0-2 all-time in the dance. The nightcap will see Miami of Ohio, the Red Hawks, that 31-1 record, taking on SMU. The Red Hawks out to prove that they belong in this main field, while SMU will try to show the committee that they didn't make a mistake by including the Mustangs. They, too, lost 5 of their last 6 games and finished just 8-10 in the ACC this season. The 2026 FIBA Women's World Cup qualifying tournament in Puerto Rico coming to a close Tuesday. Team USA outlasting Spain 84-70 as they complete a perfect 5-0 week in San Juan. and finish in first place. The Americans had already qualified for this fall's World Cup, but now have officially received their boarding pass. As expected, Team USA led all teams in scoring with an average of 95.8 points per game. Their 14-point win over Spain was by far the closest game of the tournament, their 5 victories coming by an average of 42 points. In case you're wondering, Caitlin Clark, who had played in a game setting for the first time since last July, showed she is game ready whenever the WNBA solves their labor issues, and now they have. Caitlin playing in all 5 games, averaging 11.6 points per game, 6.4 assists. She was also hitting 40% from 3. We love getting the perspective of coaches and guys getting ready for the games. A lot of times we talk with the writers and the insiders, but how about a coach? Again, Ryan Blackwell, assistant coach for the Siena Saints. They are the 16th seed, getting ready to take on Duke. This is a game in the East region, first round, down there in Greenville, South Carolina. Coach Blackwell, welcome to the show.
Thanks for having me.
Absolutely. Let's take us back last week to the conference tournament final and tell us about the Saints getting this win and punching their ticket to the big dance.
Yeah, I think it's, everyone's excited. It hasn't happened in 16 years since 2010 when Fran McCaffrey was there. And, a lot of people just, we were the 3rd seed, and coming into the tournament, we had so much going on, injuries. I mean, we were playing with 7 scholarship players. Our starting power forward, Antonio Chandler, had just been deemed ineligible by the NCAA because of some paperwork issues. So, we were just unsure. And to get to that point, the ups and downs of the season, having the kids fight through adversity, continue to scratch and claw, and then peak at the right time, having players like Riley Mulvey, our center, play his best basketball. As you know, going into March, everyone says it, coach say it. You have to be playing your best basketball. And we started to peak at the right time. And we hit a groove with those 7 guys, fortunately. And we've been riding that high. They've just been playing well. They've gelled. They've clicked. The chemistry has been great. And to get through that tournament and beat Merrimack, who had beat us twice in the regular season, we wanted another shot at them, and we got it. And the game plan was awesome. And the kids they rose to the occasion.
It's such a competitive conference. You guys mentioned Merrimack, Iona. Pretty sure St. Peter's came out of there. Is that what?
Yes.
Yeah, that's what I thought. So, look, that's a team that just this decade has made one of the great runs in tournament history. Have you guys talked about that in terms of once you're in, anything's possible?
Yeah, absolutely. We've talked about that. Sheenaheen did a great job when he was there. Iona has always done some great things. And, Mount St. Mary's made it last year, but, lost maybe the first or second game, maybe they play a game and then lost. But you just never know. That's what March is about, right? That's why they call it March Madness. Of course, it's David versus Goliath. It's number 1 versus the number 1 overall seed versus the number 16 seed Siena. So a lot of people are going to, be favoring them. I think the spread is like minus 28 or something like that. So it is what it is, but these guys are focused. They're confident. Jerry's done a great job of getting the best out of these guys and getting them to believe in themselves and believe in one another. And that's where they're at right now. So, hats off to Jerry for the job that he's done and our staff and the culture that's been built in such a short time. So, you have another opportunity to play. You have an opportunity to shock the world and on national TV to play Duke, which is, blue blood, has a brand of basketball that's well known, in other countries. So it's a great opportunity. We're excited and we're looking forward to the challenge.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm always curious to ask teams who punch their ticket and then to sit and wait a week, right? I mean, just the way the conference schedules line out. Thank you, TV schedule, ESPN. They set this up. That's they maximize their dollars, and that's fine. How do you guys handle that? Like having the euphoria of winning your conference tournament and cutting down the nets and everything that goes with that, and knowing that you're going to be in the big show, and then you got to wait a week. I mean, everyone else you're watching on TV to find out who you're going to play against, and then your scout begins and your prep begins.
Absolutely, we talked about that. It's like, man, who we're going to play, where we're going to go, and you're watching Lenardi's scenarios, and you're watching all these bracketology scenarios, and you're like, oh, okay, they're saying we're going to Tampa, great weather. We're going to Philly, we're going to Buffalo, more cold, more snow. All these scenarios. Oh, we're going to go to St. Louis, we're going to go to San Diego. Like, we kept seeing all these scenarios, and we're like, okay, where are we going to go? Who we're going to play? We can't really scout, so practices are light, and you're riding on the high of winning the conference championship, so everyone's excited and and happy, and that's the great part about it. But like you said, you're just waiting to see, and finally, when the show came on Sunday, to be the first draw, to see that, and I don't know if you saw Jerry's reaction. He put his head down, kind of like jokingly, like, "Oh my God, we got the number 1 overall seed, Duke." But after that, and we figured it out, it's like, okay, let's get back to work. We have a job to do. Let's go make this thing happen.
Yeah, absolutely. Talking with Ryan Blackwell, he's an assistant coach for Siena, again, winning the MAC and getting into the tournament. You mentioned it again for the first time in several years. It's been so long. I had forgotten where Fran McCaffrey came from before he went to Iowa. Of course, he's one of the first-year coaches in the dance, as he's now with Penn, the Ivy League champion. And they will play coming up here on Thursday as well. You guys have, want to get to coaches in a minute, but we mentioned again the time off in between. What's it been like there for campus? You've got a student body and a campus population that, again, hasn't experienced this. What's the reaction been like there on campus?
Everyone's so excited, from the students, the faculty, just walking on campus. We walked in the cafeteria the other day and people cheered. Kids said, when they go into class, the teachers and students have been giving them standing ovations, and, they take pride in their basketball. We're not a football school, and we have obviously great lacrosse and a lot of other great sports, but people love their basketball. And when Siena basketball is playing well and in the tournament, it's great for the entire community. It's great for Albany, and people love to see it. And people are just really excited to have the Siena name and brand back in the tournament. I mean, like I said, 16 years is a really long time.
Yeah.
To wait. And they've had some good teams over this last couple of years, but just haven't got over the hump. And fortunately, we were the group, and our kids, for them, I'm so happy for them, because I know how much they've worked and how hard they've worked to get to this point, and couldn't be happier for them.
You've got guys that are on your staff, with Coach McNamara, your head coach. They have March Madness experience before NCAA Tournament.
Yep.
What have those conversations been like in the coaches' lounge, as well as in the locker room, talking about past experiences and relating that to this time around?
Yeah, I think it's, as you know, experience is the best teacher, and we've talked about our experiences going through it. Obviously, Jerry won a national championship and won the 6 games, and back in 2003 with Carmelo and that group. And I went, last time I was there was 2000, so that's 26 years ago. Arinze, I think 2010. So we pull from those experiences, and we really about telling the kids and keeping them focused and composed, and not having them to be too overwhelmed when we're talking about film and breaking down film, like, oh, you're going to be guarding the boosters. Like, yeah, they're good. They're really good players. They're a really good program, really good team. But you guys are good too. And you guys have worked hard. You've worked your tails off to get to this point. Don't just look at it as, oh, we got to the tournament, that's it. You have to really be focused and with the intent that, okay, we can win this thing, or we can have a shot. We can compete with these guys because we work hard, we do the same things, and they're injured. They're only playing really with 7 guys as well right now. So it's a level playing field. It's, 0-0 is a new season. These guys have an opportunity of a lifetime. Cherish it. Go through the experience, enjoy it, have a good time, and don't be nervous.
Yeah. Yeah. You've got the practice session coming up on Wednesday, and that, I think, for any player, regardless if they're seasoned or it's their first time, that's the moment, I think, when you kind of get acclimated in terms of, it's open, so fans can come in and celebrate. The media's around. And I think of my own experiences walking in as a reporter standpoint, there's just something magical about the day before, and you're on the court in warm-ups, and you're shooting around, and you're there, and you see the coaches smiling, and I think, what do you think that experience will be like for the players when they take the court there at Bon Secours?
It's going to be awesome. And I remember thinking back to 1997, I think was my first experience in the tournament, and going to that shoot around and just being in that environment, that atmosphere. It's very magical. Just being on that court and seeing everyone around and the cameras, and just being with your teammates and being with the guys who you've worked with for the entire season to get to that point. It's just very special. I'm excited for the guys to experience that, and looking forward to it.
Yeah. I know that you guys, you and Coach McNamara both went to Syracuse. There's an opening there, of course, with the Orange. Have you guys, Jerry's name has been talked about with that. Has that come up at all in terms of possibly filling that position?
It really hasn't. Obviously people have asked the question. His name has been, in the papers and then on social media. But he's done a great job of keeping his head down and keeping focused on the task at hand.
Mm-hmm.
I'm sure he's gotten questions already about it. He's going to continue to get questions, but he's done a great job of being focused on playing Duke and being in the tournament and giving his 100%, time to our team. And that's what he should do. And as a staff, we talk about just focusing on the job at hand. Everything else will take care of itself. But right now we're focused on playing Duke.
Yeah. I'm curious. You were a great 3-point shooter. Do you ever challenge the guys to 3-point shootouts in practice?
I do. We do. And guys one-on-one. I haven't lost yet in a one-on-one. Going back to last year, I beat a couple of the guys, and this year I haven't really played. We've done some shooting competition, but I can still shoot. I can still move. I make sure that I kind of stay in shape for the most part. So the guys ever challenge me, I'm up. I'm ready. Still ready. Getting up there. I'm 49 years old, but I can still move pretty good.
You look great. Yeah, you still get out there. Does Jerry shoot threes as well?
He shoots all the time. I mean, he's still got that shot. He's got a bad ankle that he's got to get surgery on after the season, but he can shoot it. I mean, it's still money.
That's awesome. I love that. Well, I'm curious. You guys are in a unique position in terms of this world of NIL, the transfer portal, and as we talk about Syracuse as well, that's one thing as we talk with insiders there that it's an issue. Yeah. How many dollars do you put in, and how you attract these guys and how you stay competitive in this new world? Can you talk to us about kind of how that world is for you, and how you perceive it is for Syracuse right now, and really maybe the dangers for Syracuse of falling behind if they can't keep up in that space?
It's an unfortunate time, and I'm happy for the kids. We laugh and joke as a staff, like, oh my God, how much money we probably would have made if we were still in college. Yeah. Happy for the guys and happy for what they're able to get. But yeah, it creates something where, you're going to have guys leave all the time, not as much as on the mid-major level as like a Syracuse and Kentucky and Duke, because that's just the nature of the beast when you're giving out millions of dollars to kids. But we still have to find money and generate revenue to be able to pay these kids. Mm-hmm. And luckily we have the relationships that we've created over the years, even from people from the Syracuse area and fans of Syracuse that we've connected with that have donated to our program, which helps. And that's really what it's about. It's about having relationships, connecting with different people. Mm-hmm. And obviously the people who have supported Siena throughout the years, we've connected with them and grown a bond with them, because that's what it's about. It's really about connecting those relationships, connecting the dots with them, getting them to believe in your program and what you're building, and bringing money, because we have to pay guys as well, unfortunately.
Yeah. I've heard some buzz here in recent weeks that the change in landscape is going to land on the backs of assistant coaches, where we now have more assistant coaches. You're allowed to have more assistant coaches than you did in the past, but those extra coaches may make significantly less moving forward than what they did now, because programs may decide to give that money instead to players. Have you heard talk about that, and what's your response to that?
I've heard some things. I've even heard some things at Syracuse that they've changed up some of the things. Maybe they're flying less. Maybe they're busing to more games. Maybe they're, they've lost some of their privileges. Maybe less money on the road. For food, they've changed up their style. I've heard some things like that at different programs, and it's just the nature of what we're going through, the ramifications of the NIL world, and people having to deal with money. If you have to shift and allocate money to a different place and to give it to more players, maybe coaches take less, and that's the fallback that you're going to have to deal with. And it's unfortunate, but until they put rules in and figure this thing out, it's just the way it has to go, and that's what we have to deal with as coaches.
Yeah, you've been around this game, the college level and beyond, for the past 3 decades. Is this model sustainable? It just feels like at some point, guys writing these checks are going to say, I just can't do this anymore. I don't see a return on investment or whatever. It feels like this model is not sustainable. Your thoughts?
Yeah, I don't think it is. I think, like I said, you're going to have to put rules in. I remember when I transferred from Illinois to Syracuse, I had to sit out a year, and I was fine with it. And when you're allowing players just to get up and leave year after year just to chase the dollar, That's for the fans. It's like, okay, we're used to seeing guys for 3 or 4 years, getting to know them, having your favorite player or whatever it may be, and that's gone. So now it's like it's everything's contractual, unfortunately. Yeah. So they have to get to a point where, okay, you can't transfer every year, and maybe there's a cap on how much money you can make. Yeah. And if you leave, then maybe you have to give it back or you have to pay a fine. Like they have to put something in place to keep these kids accountable to the school and to the program.
Yeah, and not so much in football, because you get the redshirt year, and by the time kids transfer, they've already stockpiled a lot of credits. But in basketball, not quite the case. Make progress toward a degree at the same time as every school has its different rules, right?
Yeah. What happened to a degree? Get your education and enjoy that in the 4 years. Like that was one of the best parts of my experience, which I'm glad that I went through, having those 4 years, getting my degree, and having the relationships now still with Jason Hart and Eton Thomas and Preston Shumpert and those guys that I played with, Alan Griffin, and we have a group chat still. That's what I remember, and that was the special thing about playing in college at that time, that you still have those bonds. And now you play with a guy for 6 months, 7 months, and you probably don't ever talk to him ever again, but you have a lot of money in your pocket, and who knows what you're doing with it. A lot of these kids don't even know how to manage money or what it means to have money in your pocket. And so there's a lot that goes into it that we could go on and on about, but I'm glad for my experience. I'm happy the kids are being able to make money, but they got to figure it out.
Yeah, no question. I got one more question before I let you go. Producer Tony is from the area up there. He wants to know, is Grimaldi's still the best Italian restaurant there in Syracuse?
We used to love Grimaldi's. Grimaldi's is no longer there. They got it several years ago, and I think Grimaldi, they moved to Florida. I know the family moved to Florida a while ago, and I actually saw the owner years ago. But great place, man. We used to take our recruits there. I was taking on my visit when I was recruited to Syracuse. That was one of the best restaurants around. Okay. So, but not there anymore.
All right, what to tell him to go find another place. All right, Coach Blackwell, appreciate you, man. Thanks so much.
Thank you.
All right, Siena versus Duke, 2:50 tip time on CBS on Thursday, round 1 of the NCAA Tournament. Stay with us. Much more to come after this.
Do you want to save money on your next flight? Then pick up the phone and call. That's right, call. Because the best prices on airline tickets are not online. They're with SmartFares. See, SmartFares has special deals with the airlines. When they have unsold seats, they use SmartFares to fill them. So you get airline tickets at ridiculously low prices. They have access to great prices and discounts with over 500 different airlines, plus 300,000 hotels and rental car companies. Their prices are too low to publish online. The only way to learn more is make a free call. With the extra money you'll save, you can book another trip or treat yourself to dinner or shopping. So stop searching all of those travel sites to find the lowest price on your next trip. Let one of our SmartFares expert travel agents find the best prices for you. Call SmartFares today and get the best price on your next trip.
You're listening to Sports IQ with Larry Smith.
Welcome back here to the show. Some NFL news right now. The Broncos making a big splash on Tuesday, acquiring another weapon for quarterback Bo Nix, getting Jalen Waddle from Miami in exchange for first, third, and fourth round picks in this year's draft. Waddle giving Denver a weapon to stretch the field and a great mate for Cortland Sutton. Miami, meanwhile, has signaled that tanking is happening in the NFL as well as the NBA, as they look to prepare for having a top pick in what is expected to be a quarterback-heavy draft in 2027. We'll talk more about that here later on this week on the show. The NFLPA has a new head man as they announced on Tuesday. Former Cleveland Browns offensive lineman J.C. Tretter has been elected by the Board of Player Representatives to be the next executive director of the union. Tretter ascends to the role after serving as NFLPA president from 2020 to 2024, along with his 9-year career in the league. World Baseball Classic coming to a close. Venezuela getting the best of Team USA, a 3-2 win that touched off a huge celebration in South Florida, where some 250,000 Venezuelan immigrants call home. Venezuela took a 2-0 lead in the fifth when the Boston Red Sox Wilyer Abreu hit a solo blast off the Mets' Nolan McLean. Venezuela kept the shutout going until the bottom of the eighth when the Phillies' Bryce Harper hit a 2-run bomb to center field that tied things up at 2. In the ninth, Eugenio Suarez hit a go-ahead RBI double off Garrett Whitlock to give the visitors a 3-2 edge. Daniel Palencia closing the door on a perfect ninth inning with a 99.7-mile-per-hour fastball to strike out Roman Anthony and ignite an emotional celebration as a stunned Team USA, 3 years after losing 3-2 to Japan in the 2023 WBC final, could do nothing more than watch. Some other news, college football, the man who is on top of the world right now, Curt Cignetti, will get behind the wheel. He will be the honorary driver for the pace car at the Indy 500 coming up here in May. More college basketball news, meanwhile. The AP All-American team is out. No surprise there, the top five. Carlos Boozer of Duke was a unanimous selection. A.J. DeBonsa of BYU. Michigan's Yaxel Lindeborg, the Big Ten Player of the Year. Darius Acuff Jr., who is the SEC Player of the Year, just a freshman, and J.T. Toppin as well of Texas Tech. Hey, by the way, first-year coaches in the NCAA tournament, there are several who have gotten their team to the big dance in their first year on campus. Odom at Virginia, also Lucas at Miami, Willard at Villanova, McCollum at Iowa, NC State led by Will Wade, also Sean Miller at Texas, Phil Martelli Jr., VCU. Hodgkin, what a job he's done down at South Florida. They lost their coach tragically as he died about a year ago. Complications during surgery, and he's come in and resurrected this Bulls team after that tragedy. Also, McNeese State, High Point, Penn, Tennessee State, and Texas A&M as well, all first-year head coaches there, and they're in the big dance. But if you're making your picks, by the way, we talked about the Dirty Dozen yesterday, but also another list to look at is that of Evan Mikiyawa. He has 8 teams that he says the analytics say have the best chance to win. Those 8 teams he's identified as the champion, the pool that the champion will come from: Arizona, Duke, Florida, Houston, Illinois, Iowa State, Michigan, and Purdue. We will see what happens there. We talked about the sporting news, doing a story, the top 10 highest valued NIL players, according to On3's database. Interesting. A.J. DeBonsa at $4.2 million, the BYU star. We've heard reports of $5 million. This database says $4.2 million. Second place is J.T. Toppin, a two-time All-American from Texas Tech, with a $2.8 million. Carlos Boozer at $2.2. Maurice Johnson of Michigan at $2.0. One of several at $2 million, including Jaden Quaintance, who is coming off an ACL tear at Arizona State, getting $2 million at Kansas. Also, we mentioned Yaxel Lindeborg, Johnson's teammate at Michigan, also at $2 million. Caleb Wilson of North Carolina at $1.9. Braden Smith, the soon-to-be the all-time assist leader in NCAA history at Purdue at $1.7. Denzel Aberdeen, who won a title last year with Florida, now he's at Kentucky, $1.6. And the surprising story out of this, Keaton Wagler, $1.5. He was a lower-rated recruit, so he didn't get that money out of high school, but he's been the top seller at the NIL store for 6 weeks running. Huge story there, on the verge of being a potential lottery pick here coming up this summer, but Wagler out of Illinois at $1.5 million. All right, stay with us. We've got much more to come, talking a little NBA talks with Jasmyn Wimbush. That's up next.
You're locked in to SportsIQ with Larry Smith.
We promised a little NBA news here on the show. Producer Tony is with our next guest.
Well, Larry, yeah, it is coming down to crunch time. Last 14, 15 games of the regular season of the NBA, and it looks a little different than it has in years past. And luckily, we have Jasmyn Wimbush, CBSSports.com, NBA beat writer, here to join us this morning and give us some insight as we come down to the home stretch of the NBA season. Good morning, Jasmyn. How are you?
I'm doing well. How about yourself?
Doing good. You know, Jasmyn, it's interesting when I'm looking and reading the standings, and I can't remember a time when we've had this many games left to go, and while all the placements aren't set, but the top 10 is kind of set this season. Is that due, in your mind, to me, as I'm watching it unfold? I'm thinking there's a lot of teams that are trying to get into the lottery of this draft because it's such a deep draft. Is that what you're seeing as well, do you think?
Yeah, absolutely. I think tanking has been a really big topic of conversation this season in the NBA. And, there's a lot of people talking about how do we fix this and how do we figure out how to stop, basically half the league from tanking. But I think really this year is kind of like an outlier, an anomaly in a way, because like you said, it is a really deep draft class. There's a lot of guys that could be generational talents for a lot of these teams that don't have that. And so I think, I'm not pro tanking, but I do think that in this certain situation, in this certain year, there is, this is a very unique situation where I understand why, teams like the Kings and the Jazz are like making themselves non-competitive because they don't have that guy on their team. And really, we've seen throughout history in the NBA, the easiest way to build a championship team is to get your number one guy through the draft, especially for these small market teams. No one's going and signing with the Utah Jazz as a free agent. That's not going to happen. So the easiest way for them to get that number one option is to get them through the draft. So they're going to keep doing that until they can get the guy that they want to get. And this year is the perfect time to do that.
Yeah, it's really such a deep draft class. When you talk about guys like, Yaxel Lindenborg in most years would be probably in the top 3, and I've seen some picks don't have him in the top 10, and he's a potential, franchise player right there.
Yeah, I mean, people are retroactively going back and thinking like Cooper Flag wouldn't be the number one pick in this draft, which I don't know. I don't know if I could say that. He's been phenomenal as, the fact that he reclassified to be a year older and is still putting up, 25 points as a rookie is phenomenal, but it is a very deep draft class. And, I'm excited to watch March Madness because I haven't been able to watch a lot of the men's college basketball. But I do know that there's a deep well of talent at that top, basically throughout the entire lottery. I don't think that, any of these teams who are going to end up in the lottery are going to get, a bad player or miss on a player because there's just a lot of talent here.
Yeah, there is a ton of talent. Speaking of the other side, now, as we've talked about the bottom here, we know what's happening there. In the playoff teams, a couple teams have just gotten red hot of late. None more so than the Atlanta Hawks, who on Monday night won their 10th in a row, right? Suddenly they're going gangbusters. They trade away Trae Young, and they're even better than they were. Was that addition by subtraction? Had the Trae Young thing just kind of worn out in Atlanta? And is this team capable of being an upsetting team in the playoffs when it comes about?
Yeah, I think when you look at Atlanta's defense, I think, this isn't to discredit Trae Young. I think everybody knows in the league he was kind of a liability on that end of the floor. But the Atlanta team was really good defensively, even with Trae Young on the roster. But I think offensively, you take away somebody who has a very kind of heliocentric way of playing offensively, and you kind of are able to share the ball more. And, it's not surprising to me that the Hawks have been able to do this well without Trae. I think, people will look at it and be like, oh, well, he was the issue in Atlanta. I think it was just really a matter of, the pieces that they had on this team, I think fit better without Trae on the team. I don't think that that's a disservice to him. It's going to be interesting to see what he and the Wizards and Anthony Davis are able to do next season. I think that tandem will be a pretty strong like pick and roll duo. But as far as, them kind of upsetting other teams in the East, they're sitting what, eighth right now in the Eastern Conference. If the standings were set right now and they'd go against the Detroit Pistons, I do think what would happen is that would be a very low scoring playoff series because those are two very defensive minded teams. So I think in that situation, if they are going against Detroit, I would give the upper hand to Detroit just because they've been pretty dominant all season. But if they go against a team that is, not very defensive savvy, if they're able to get, I'm kind of looking at these standings and there's not really a favorable matchup for them at the top of the East. You've got Boston, you've got New York. Both of those teams are pretty sound defensively, but I mean, kudos to Atlanta for pulling the trigger on getting rid of Trae Young and deciding, you know what, I think this is in our best interest. We'll see what this turns into long term. Jalen Johnson is kind of their main guy now, and he's proven that he can step into that role. So I think it was a decision that needed to be made that not a lot of teams would make. And Atlanta, did that, and you have to tip your cap to them for that decision.
Has there really been a better story than what we've seen the last couple of weeks, Jasmyn, with Jason Tatum coming back? I mean, when they said he was getting ready to return, I was kind of shocked because it was on the light side of 9 months yet
Yeah.
that he'd been out, and he's already back and playing at a pretty high level right now. I mean, that either tells me he's got the most amazing doctors, or his character and his inner strength to want to get back is incredible.
Yeah, I think it's a mix of both. It's absolutely phenomenal. When, like you said, when the Celtics were like, "Yeah, he's coming back," I was very, very nervous because we've seen guys come back too early and then get a worse injury. There's so many guys you can rattle off there, and Jason Tatum seemingly does not fall into that category. And the fact that he's able to come back, I think the other concern was, what is the Celtics team going to look like with him back in the fold? There were a lot of like, oh well, he's going to have to figure out how to play with them now that they're successful, and vice versa. But this Celtics team is very void of egos on this roster. And they did a really good job of building out this roster so that everybody's playing for each other. And so you don't have a situation where Jason Tatum is going to come in and is going to be like, well, you guys need to give me the ball. I think in that very first game that he came back, I think you saw the Celtics player kind of like forcing him the ball because they're like, okay, well, we need to cater to him. And he was like, you guys play exactly how you were playing before I was here. I'm just going to kind of pick my spots. And Jason Tatum is probably one of the most, chameleon-like players in the league. He's able to fit into whatever role you need him to do, and he'll be successful in that. And the fact that the Celtics really haven't skipped a beat with him returning is insane, and it should be really scary for the rest of the Eastern Conference because, everyone thought, oh, this is an off year, that they're not going to be a factor, and here they are sitting second in the East. And, a team like the Knicks, I'd be kicking myself because now it's like, all right, well, this was kind of our year, everyone was saying. For the Knicks, you didn't even finish first in the conference, right? So you're still behind Boston, even when Jason Tatum comes back in March. That's insane.
Right. That's what I was thinking. When the injury happened and then we knew he was going to be out for the better part or all of this season, I thought, okay, Boston's going to pick a lottery pick. Boy, how lucky are they? They're going to get in the lottery. Knowing their luck, they'd probably pull 1 through 4 somehow, some way getting in. And here they are fighting for the number 1 spot in the East. That tells me that they put together a heck of a roster that was able to weather this storm, because you've seen what happened with Indiana. They haven't been able to weather it at all.
Right. Well, and it's also funny because you even think back to, during the summer and off season and like free agency, and the Celtics were a team that were like, okay, we want to get out of, this second apron situation. They were trimming their tax bill. They got rid of Porzingis, Drew Holiday, and it was like, oh yeah, they were totally setting up for, this is going to be down here. We're going to get a lottery pick or whatever. And they were still able to come out, and even with a couple guys that were on that championship roster not there anymore, we're still able to just pick up the pieces. I mean, you really have to, if you're talking about end of season awards, and you're talking about coach of the year, like Joe Mazzulla would probably be at the top of that list, because the fact that he's been able to carry this team and do this with a team that was without its best player when everyone was expecting, oh, they're going to be like the Indiana Pacers. It's truly remarkable what he and the Celtics have been able to do.
On the other conference, looking at what's going on in the West, which is so deep. Being a Laker fan, I was a little bit disappointed that they weren't making any moves at the trade deadline. And now they've suddenly gotten hot. And it seems to me, just watching what I've been able to see of them on TV, they've decided that, you know what, to heck with defense. We're not going to worry about the defensive end. We're just going to go out and see how many points we can put up each night and see where that gets us. Because they're playing at a high level offensively right now, and it seems to be carrying them pretty well.
Yeah, and I think, last night they just beat the Rockets, and they kind of cracked the code, at least against the Rockets in the second half. They were throwing a lot of doubles at Kevin Durant, and him and the Rockets were just all out of sorts on that end of the floor. So kudos to the Lakers for figuring it out for one game, how to put together a defensive game plan. But yeah, offensively, when you have Luka Doncic, when you've got Austin Reeves, LeBron, when he plays and is able to, get up for a night, that's a really dangerous offensive trio that can challenge a lot of teams in the West, especially Luka right now. He's scored like 30-something points in the last 6 games. He's really turned a corner, I would say, in the last couple of weeks. I think for most of the season, Luka's been good. He's had his ups and downs and injuries and things like that. But since March has started, I've seen the version of Luka that I saw a lot when he was in Dallas. And he's super efficient. He's facilitating, he's rebounding, he's scoring at a great clip. And him and Austin Reeves are just so cohesive together. And what we're also seeing is the two of them work a lot better, and the Lakers are a lot more successful when LeBron's not playing. And so what that tells you is, going into the summer, LeBron's going to be a free agent. If LeBron decides to retire after the season, if he decides to suit up for one more year, I don't think his home is going to be in LA, because if the Lakers don't want to waste Luka's prime and Austin's prime as well, you guys need to go and get somebody else that's not LeBron James and 40 something years old to pair with these guys so that they can actually be more than just, oh, they could be a playoff contender. This needs to be a championship contending team every season starting this summer. And if that's not happening, then something needs to change. Like something's going wrong, maybe in the front office. Rob Pelinka, this upcoming offseason is a very important offseason for the Lakers to be like, all right, we're going to be back in the championship hunt.
Yeah, I think they have some work to do. There are some holes still on that roster. Like I said, I mean, for me, looking at them, I don't think they can make a really deep run to get. I think they can win a first round matchup, but I'm not sure that they can, over a 7-game, deal with either Houston or Denver. If that's the matchup they get.
Yeah, I think, looking at the standings right now, they're in third. And so if they'd be playing the Minnesota Timberwolves, I think that's a pretty good matchup for them. I know Luka loves playing against the Timberwolves right now. But yeah, if they face a OKC team, San Antonio, I don't see the Lakers having the depth to get over either of those teams. But I think them putting a strong effort in whatever, in that second round, whoever they play, would go a long way. And then being like, okay, we have something here. We just need to figure out what the holes are in the offseason to address those needs, assuming LeBron's not coming back next season.
And OKC, had seemingly they were hotter than a pistol to start the season. Took a little bit of a step back, had some injuries, had some things they had to deal with, but they seem to be getting healthy and getting better at just the right time as we're coming down the stretch here. They still have to be an overwhelming, maybe not overwhelming, because the Spurs would seem to give them fits, but they still have to be the favorite as we kind of close in on playoff time here, right?
Yeah, they're my favorite to come out of the West, even still. I think injuries played a large part in people being like, I don't know, maybe they've lost a step or something. But Shea was out for a couple of weeks, came back and was right as rain. Jalen Williams has been in and out of the lineup, Isaiah Hartenstein, but I think, like you said, this team is getting healthy at the right time, which is also terrifying for all of the other teams, not named the San Antonio Spurs, because I do think the Spurs, if they meet in the Western Conference Finals, I think that goes to 7 games. And I think we're in for a treat if those teams face each other in the West Finals. I think that San Antonio matches up perfectly with the size that OKC has. And also, they have a cheat code in Victor Wembanyama. There's nobody in the league who's going to credibly stop him. The only thing that's going to stop the Spurs is their lack of experience in a position like that, which is why I would give the edge to OKC at this point. But yeah, I think that what we saw over the last month and a half from OKC, they took a downturn and they still were at the top of the conference, and now they're 9-1 in their last 10 games, and it's just like, okay, we don't really need to worry about OKC until they get into the playoffs against a team that can match up well against them.
Now, it's been a week. We haven't talked to you since Bam Adebayo had his big 83-point game.
Yeah.
Asking you to put on your futures hat. Is there any chance, the way defense is played right now in the NBA, could you see somebody in the league currently threatening Wilt's 100-point game? Do you think we'll ever see that? We're getting close, 83, and Bam is not somebody you expected to put up 83 points, right?
Absolutely. Yeah. I think after watching that, I think as long as teams like the Washington Wizards exist, there will be a chance for somebody to break Wilt's record. I really do. I think that in any given season, there's always a team like the Washington Wizards. I remember when Luka scored 70-something points against the Hawks. Like, there's always a team that's, kind of bottoming out and has a really off night. And, somebody like Bam being able to score 83 points against them is like very mind-boggling in itself. But yeah, I think the way that that defense is going, I think the way that offense is, so fast-paced and one player can take over a game just like Bam did, I think very easily we'll see somebody break Wilt's record. I think somebody like Luka could break Wilt's record, to be honest. I don't know time frame wise, but yeah, I think based on what we've seen, unless the NBA decides to make changes, they could have seen what Bam did and we're like, hey, we don't want any more of this. So we'll see. But I do think that with the way the game's currently played, we will definitely see somebody break that record, especially because teams like the Wizards exist.
That's a good way of putting it, and that's absolutely 100% true. Jasmyn Wimbush, thank you so much for joining us. Really appreciate it. Jasmyn Wimbush, she is the NBA beat writer for CBSSports.com. Always great to have you on the program and get your thoughts about what's going on in the league.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
We're going to take a quick break on the Sports IQ. We'll be right back with some more right after this.
Okay, NCAA Tournament is here. We've got the two games here tonight, but we begin with those round one games tomorrow, Tony. We were talking that early session, that Ohio State TCU game is really interesting, an 8-9 game to start things off.
Yeah, those 8-9 games are always really exciting, right? It's a toss-up. I read something online that said the 9 seed in the last 10 years are winning those games at a 55% clip. So just a little bit over a toss-off. But one thing I'm really happy about in that game is Bruce Thornton for Ohio State. Here's a kid that's done everything for the Buckeyes. 4 years he's been there. 4 years he's played. Never gotten to the NCAA tournament before. Now he gets his chance to be in the big dance and show on that main stage. And, with the way things are in college sports these days, a kid staying for 4 years at the school that recruited him is unheard of. So give him all the props in the world for doing that, not going to look for a bigger bag, because he is a really good player. He could have gotten paid somewhere else. He could have been that piece that put a team over. He stayed. He was loyal to Ohio State. He finally gets there. He finally gets to the dance. I hope he does well and shows well in that game tomorrow.
Yeah, I do too. And TCU trying to get something going. By the way, Thornton is Ohio State's all-time leading scorer. To your point, we're not going to see that very often, especially at a power conference school, to your point, because people are going to leave and go chase the bag, or if you're a scorer like he is, go to the NBA. But yeah, I mean, 4-time captain, the only one in Buckeyes history, and the great history they have there. You think of the greats. I mean, John Havlicek and Jerry Lewis, and yet he's the only 4-time captain as a freshman coming out of Atlanta. So yeah, I'm with you. Really thrilled for him, and thrilled to see also what TCU can do with this game. Hey, another game is North Carolina VCU. We've talked before about the 6-11 games. VCU is a very, very well-coached team. They've had a fantastic season. Really intrigued by this. North Carolina, again, has not been the same since Caleb Wilson, the future lottery pick, went out with that injury.
Yeah, and I think this is one where you're going to see a number of people in their brackets are going to take VCU, and with good reason. They have, like I think I said yesterday, they have the puncher's chance. They have that Ernie Shavers chance. Okay, yeah, I keep dating myself with that reference. Anybody that doesn't get it, let me know. I'll email you with who Ernie Shavers is, okay? But they have that puncher's chance out there. They can hit the three. They play solid defense. They're a well-coached team. All of that comes into play. North Carolina's been a little skittish, especially down the stretch here without Caleb Wilson. They don't have that. Caleb was their go-to guy. If they got in trouble somewhere, if they needed a run stop where they hadn't scored in a couple minutes, they went to Caleb. If they needed a basket at the end of the game, they went to Caleb. He was the guy that carried them, for a lot of the season. So without him, it's going to be interesting. I kind of like VCU in an upset here. It's going to be close, but I think they're they may win one of those 2 or 3 point games down there and upset North Carolina.
Yeah, I think it's very possible as well. Another game that I really like, I can't wait to watch in the evening session, is 7-seed St. Mary's taking on the 10-seed Texas A&M. The Aggies led the SEC in the first half of the season. Buzz Williams getting out of town after all those seniors graduated last year. He's now at Maryland. Bucky McMillan comes in. Bucky Ball coming in from Stanford, where he made a name for himself. And look, he's got the Aggies at a 21-win season this year, very competitive in the SEC. But St. Mary's is there with historically, they're always just such a dangerous team. And they're a team, a program that they're in the NCAA so often. It's just a part of their DNA. So it's just another part of the season. They won't be fazed by the big stage and the big lights of the big dance.
Absolutely. And, it'll be an interesting task for Texas A&M. You've got to like that team because, look, even if you and I are the biggest college basketball junkies going, And we haven't really talked much about Texas A&M this year. They've just been flying under that radar. There's always that one team, that one conference team each year that kind of flies underneath everybody's radar. You don't really see them. You're not really talking about it. And suddenly they're in the Sweet 16 or the Elite Eight. You're going, where'd they come from? And that could very well be Texas A&M. Buckyball is a little different. It's up tempo. It's very quick. And sometimes if you can get a team out of their rhythm, you can go a long way.
Yeah. And interesting with them is that if whoever wins this, let's say Texas A&M wins, then you get Houston next, the 2 seed, assuming that goes chalk. So very intriguing matchup there. I thought the Aggies were seated low. We'll see what happens. Okay, our moment of all is up next.
Listen, were you forced into getting a solar contract and now you just don't want it anymore? Maybe the solar company misled you. Or is your solar contract buried with hidden fees? Are you not saving the amount of money you thought you would on your energy costs? Don't worry. At the Solar Exit Hotline, we can help you cancel your solar contract, even if the panels are already installed. Our experienced legal team will review your contract and help you cancel it, possibly saving you thousands of dollars. You got to call right now for complete details. So listen, if you're not happy with your solar contract for any reason, we are here to help you cancel it. Call the Solar Exit Hotline now for immediate options to help you exit your solar contract. This call is 100% free. Call 855-227-0286. That's 855-227-0286. Call us right now.
Okay, time now for today's moment of all, and we go back to college basketball. On this day in 1953, back when the NCAA tournament was only 22 teams deep, Indiana University making history by becoming just the third team to win 2 NCAA championships, joining Oklahoma A&M, which won back-to-back, now Oklahoma State, and Kentucky had won back-to-back. Indiana's, though, 13 years apart. The great Branch McCracken, who won the Hoosiers' first 2 of their 5 national titles. Of course, Bob Knight had the other 3, beating Kansas on this day, 69-68, to win the NCAA championship, and we honor the Hoosiers by giving them our moment of awe. What a great show it's been today. Ryan Blackwell, maybe Siena makes some noise, makes this a march to remember. The Saints taking on Duke tomorrow. We appreciate the assistant coach of Siena stopping by. Also, Jasmyn Wimbush, appreciate her time as well, talking NBA as we get ready for the playoffs here next month. Thanks to you as always. Make this a great day and enjoy the basketball to come. We'll talk to you tomorrow here on the Sports IQ.
Thanks for listening to Sports IQ with Larry Smith, Monday through Friday. Continue the conversation at SportsIQ LS. We'll see you next time.